is there any additions or deletions, Katie, for the
Yes,
agenda?
yes, there's one deletion, agenda item 5, setting the tax rate. Um,
Okay,
Christian wanted a little bit more time, with the information, and we will put it forward at the August 17th meeting.
okay. Do we have to make a motion and pass that deletion, or can we just delete it?
I'll make a motion to remove agenda item number 5, tax rate for fiscal year 2027.
Second,
Motion's made by Matt and seconded by Jamie to
Sebastian.
remove, I'm sorry, Sebastian. You sound alike. Anyway, to remove the tax rate determination until the next meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. On to the minutes of the last meeting. I was not there, so I will entertain a motion to approve, but I will abstain.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the July 20th meeting as presented.
Sebastian will second.
Thank you. Matt made the motion to approve the minutes and Sebastian seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I will abstain as well. I was not here.
By
That-
statute, you don't,
That-
and Robert's rules, you don't have to.
We don't have to be there
You have to not be in
necessarily.
attendance.
I read through them.
Okay. Well, if you want to vote, Jamie, we're
Then
good
aye.
with that. All right. So 3 ayes have it and the minutes are approved. All right. Skipping down to number 4. That's public comments. I noticed in the gallery there's a few people. They may be here for other agenda items, but if there is anyone in the room or on the call that would like to speak on something that's not already on the agenda, now's your time. Just raise your hand and be recognized.
I think they're all here for agenda items.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so the next item on the agenda is the Benedict Crossing right of way.
Yes, so at the last meeting, you guys requested me reach out to our town council, Merrill, to confirm language about the access at the Benedict Crossing Bridge. And per Merrill Bent, public conveyance must be within the town right of way, which is 25 feet from the center line. That is clearly outlined in the deed I provided you all with. And she looked through all the other documents about it, but that is what we as the town are responsible for and have access to. And she also went on to say that we are under no statute or obligation to maintain it unless it is affecting infrastructure that's in place, like concrete or what have you. But that's where the law stands. I don't know if there's discussion you guys want to have.
Mike, you got anything?
Now, when it says access, it says access. If they wouldn't have put that in the deed, it was automatically 25 feet town right of way. Why would they put access?
It says conveyed subject to the rights of the public to traverse those portions of lands and premise which fall within the town highway right of way. That's all that the deed says. It doesn't say public access, and it doesn't give any like measurable figures.
And be within it all.
I mean, as you and I discussed down there, right, there's only 2 people that can cut there or create an access, and that would be the town highway crew at the discretion of the select board, if they so choose, or the homeowner that literally owns to the road but has the setback from the center of the road.
Why is that? Why is that says that the town has, I can't cut that brush?
Because you're not a town employee.
So you're saying if I come up the back road, like the other day, there was a tree limb across the road, I should turn around and drive back and just leave it?
Call here, call this office. You know where I live, Mike. You drive by my house every day. Stop and see me. I will get somebody out there to take care of that.
'Cause I
That's
went
the
down-
right way of doing things so that
But this is
so
the way
that-
town works. You take
But-
care of stuff instead of
we are
buying
trying to
something.
take care of stuff. But,
There was a tree down in front of Bob Plano's, and I come up
yeah,
and I called Keith. And Keith come down, and I was already there, and I was cutting down the tree. So Keith did it. I mean, you're saying that I should just leave a limb in the middle of the road?
legally, you're putting yourself at risk in a legal standpoint by removing things in the road. That's the authority that the select board has and the highway crew has to take care of the roads and manage the roads. I mean, I've driven up on trees myself. I call the highway department.
To Jamie's point, there's 5 select board members plus Katie, where one of us is always available and can get on the horn with the highway foreman or other highway crew members. We've done it. I've done it in the past, in the spring. So I think that there's quite a few people available to assist in an event such as that.
So like in a 5-minute job, for me, I gotta turn around.
If it requires you actively cutting the tree to get it out of the road, then yes, you should call the highway crew. Call one of us, call the highway crew to have it removed. Because that's the legal way of doing it to make sure that you're covered, we're covered, so on and so forth. Marty?
You can also call the non-emergency number for the state police and they will reach out to the highway crew as well.
Right. And if it's a big enough problem, the fire department will come out and do traffic control. That's the way we work. That's the way every town around here works. So,
there's also, it would seem to me, a reasonableness, perhaps, thing we ought to consider. I'm thinking about sometime in the last couple of years, we had a big snowstorm, in the area. Brewall Road had about 18 inches of snow on it, and we had a tree across the road. Nobody could get up the road to clear it. And we've had other times, on our particular road, where, it was, as they say, the reasonableness sort of standard of removing something from the road so that people could get past. And I'm just wondering if in common law or tradition, there are ways that, this seems to me to be, as they say, within what I would call a reasonableness standard.
if Mike's talking about a small branch that's across the road that you can push to the side of the road, that's one thing. But when you got to get out with saws and equipment to remove that tree, that's our responsibility. The insurance comes to us. If somebody gets hurt doing that, I mean, that's,
So, in this instance, nobody was able to get up the road. I think the town probably was, Paul, I wasn't involved in it, but I know that there were a number of people from the road that got out there with their saws. It was apparently a fairly big limb or tree that was completely obstructing the road. So, even if snowplows have been able to, it was one of those times when we're having a really bad storm.
Yep.
And, and that's why I say,
in times like that, we've got 3 highway guys.
yeah,
They've got roots. And so for them to come off to get a tree changes the whole dynamics of that. So, and you need to give us reasonable time to get there
right.
to handle something like that.
This was, in the night and
Yep.
that's as I remember. But the question that I'm asking is there such a thing in our customs or common law that would allow for what, let me tell you, a reasonable standard,
I think part of the concern is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, because I'm not up to date on I'm not up to stuff on all the legal matters. But primarily the concern is if somebody does something out of goodwill and trying to help, and either they get hurt or they generate a dispute with neighbors who don't approve of what they're doing and whatnot.
right,
The town can't defend that
no,
because our responsibility is there's something in the road. We have to apply the resources we can in the time that we're able, which sometimes may be frustratingly slow in the situation. But that's our responsibility and that's what we're covered for.
Yeah.
In the case of, if somebody's clearing brush, that is the town's responsibility and a neighbor disapproves, we can't defend that.
right.
Right.
That's not what I'm
And-
talking about.
Sebastian,
Go
you're
ahead, Matt.
100% correct on that. And, There are exceptions to that during times of natural disaster, and we have seen that like during Hurricane Irene, it's kind of all hands on deck to get things done, whether it's in our municipality or up at Killington or anything like that. But those are natural disasters that warrant an exception to that. But the rule of the 99% rule of thumb is please reach out, and our highway crew is highly skilled, and also we have availability of additional resources from the town standpoint to handle that. And to Sebastian's point, neighborly dispute or somebody didn't want it removed, or damage to the roadway or anything. I mean, if it's a large enough tree, there may be damage to the roadbed, and we also need to address that immediately at that time, and we have resources available. So we just ask that you reach out to one of the select board members, call emergency services. They can get a hold of highway as well if it's late at night. I think all of us are pretty available, and please just be patient.
Back to this, that has been open since they built the bridge. Access, tubers, families to go down the river, and this and that. It seems like the more we lose, we aren't gonna gain it back. Like Orvis and Trevor Unlimited got in the meeting and wanted to vote in the catch and release. That was supposed to have been a temporary thing back in 1996. Where are we now? We don't have it. The kids don't use the river because they don't find fish. They fish with the worm. So we're losing control. And besides, the bridge needs to be open so emergency crews can get down to the river, take a tree out if it's against the bridge. How are they gonna do it with all that overgrowth there? And Harry Pickard was representative. He would have never done that. Never. He represented the people, not just his son that doesn't want someone swimming next to his swimming pool.
I mean, the deed is from 2008.
Can I get a copy of the deed?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got,
Can I give them?
you can that. Yeah, I've got it.
Right, one. Here,
That's the most recent one.
for Frank.
Yeah, of the documents, Meryl said we have to go by the most.
You don't go by the one proceeding that was done from Bill Young to Harry Pickering.
She said this supersedes, this is the most current information for that property. So,
This is not, that's the one that Robinson had said in the deed previous to this one, that's Harry. From Bill Young to Harry.
I got that from Robin. Robin gave me that and said this is the one that describes the right of way or in the public conveyance.
That's the current state.
Yeah, so there's the warranty deed, and then this was part of a distribution of an estate. So this would amend the deed to pertain to the wording contained herein on this decree of partial distribution.
Fred bought that from his father, Harry.
I mean, we just have to go by what's in the deed.
I've got a copy of the one where Harry sold it to Fred, 1992. And I got it from downstairs.
I mean, that one supersedes this one though. This is the,
Well, still, if it's in the deed, it should be. He had just changed our deed.
I think that's what this
I
did.
mean,
This
is
is
like
the
probate
decree
code.
of distribution, which would
This is
amend
from probate court.
Proceed.
from the probate court. This would amend the warranty deed of William L. Young and Lillian B. Young to Harry Pickering Sr. and April Pickering. So
Right.
it amended that deed, which was the most current deed in the books, with this distribution as part of the estate.
So you can still clear out the right of way down to the river.
The town can if we so choose. We can't at this point right now, there is that path on the upstream side. You've been down through there, and I both
Kayakers
walked
and
it.
tubers can't get through that. Swimmers, when they come off the bridge.
Swimmers shouldn't be on the bridge because the bridge is posted against all traffic. You do know that, and that's what we've got to go by, Mike. That's
So you're
what
gonna
we were
turn around
told.
and do the same thing down to the covered bridge then?
No, we're gonna close the covered bridge and get it fixed because we've got money enough to do that. We don't have $2 million to replace that bridge right now.
I'm
Until
talking about
we-
access to the river.
I realize that, and there's a path on the upstream side of that. I walked it right down through.
I know you did, yes.
I went right to the water.
But this is a side that's always been used since that bridge has been built.
I get that, but not everything always stays the same.
Right.
You know that, just like the fishing. I agree with you on the fishing, so. But that's neither here nor there right now.
Screwed up.
As far as this goes, that's the
So
legal.
it sounds like
recourse we have.
there's an access or path, Jamie, on the upstream side, so
There
there's
is
really
a
no
path on
action
the
to be taken
upstream
by the
side.
select board.
Yep, from Benedict Crossing Road by Pickering's greenhouse, there is a path to the river.
Okay. So I don't see any reason to take any additional action.
I
don't-
do not either.
Nope.
All right, moving right along. Number 7, RFP Benedict Crossing abutment evaluation.
Yes, so in the vein of what we were just talking about, where the town left off after the scoping study, is that the abutments have to be evaluated to see if they can be used for a replacement bridge. The RFP before you all, I sent it to the company that did the initial like scoping of the whole bridge that provided all that great information. I sent it to one of their engineers. I haven't heard back from him yet, so this is purely something that like I kind of helped create with language from their scoping study, but I think this is a really good place to start to see if the abutments will work for a new bridge. And in our capital reserve fund for town bridges, it's Fund 38. After the covered bridge work, we're going to have just under $20,000 in that fund. When this RFP closes on September 4th, maybe we'll have some figures on like how much this is going to cost. And if we need to put more money aside, you know, on town meeting day, we can, but we'll have around under just 20,000 left in the bridge fund that we could use for an abutment study. I have no idea how much this could cost. I don't know. But I wanted to know if you guys wanted to offer any changes to the RFP. If you wanted to send it to engineers before I publish it, just wanted to get your all's input.
Any thoughts, gentlemen?
Who did the study? Was Otter Creek did that for us, right? So I mean,
No.
It was
No, John Bennington,
oh, the other one,
MSK.
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 Yeah.
I get them confused because we use both of them. There isn't a huge amount of choice, so
Right.
Right.
I think that we should definitely send it to MSK because
Yeah.
they have the most background knowledge. But we should circulate it to engineers. Katie, I know you reached out to one community member that's an engineer, so you may have some ideas on where else we should circulate it. But I mean, post it, put it up on Sourcewell or VLCT as well.
Okay.
So I think everything looked good. You had the terms and conditions looked sufficient. So
Yeah.
Yeah, from what we talked about before and discussed and everything that we've got before, I think this is spot on with what we need to move forward.
And information from MSK prior to this RFP, they mentioned adding geoteching and soil studies into this, just in case the abutment is found to not work. At least we have like soil data from the area, so we would know like where we could put new ones. So, if the abutments don't look great, we have soil information on where we could put new abutments. Yeah.
okay.
Do we need to take action to move this forward?
I think it's just a sense of the board to issue an RFP. I'm good with
I'm good with it the way it's written.
Good with it.
Okay.
Yep.
Super.
in my limited understanding of structural stuff, but
Okay.
as far as the terms and conditions, what we're asking for.
Okay, thank you.
I don't hear any objection, Katie, so I proceed.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, next item on the agenda, number 8, board discussion on the school merger groups.
Yes. And we have some members from the public that would like to share comments, so we can start there, or if you want to.
I'll just kind of
Yes.
introduce why I wanted to add this item and warn it and invite the public to comment because I'm concerned that the timeline for action is shrinking. And the legislature, as I understand it, has created a window in which our school board has a decision before them where they have the opportunity to accept the assigned merger group going with group 4 or to request that we move into merger group 3. Hopefully I have those group numbers right. And that my understanding of what that means is not a commitment to necessarily merge with any one particular school, but to ask to be part of the conversation with an alternative group to the one we already have close ties with. And to me, it seems like it's a matter of exploring options. But I think that while I know the select board cannot make the decision, certainly more voices that can make their thoughts and feelings known to the school board is more information for the school board to use in a decision. So I wanted us to have a conversation and see what we might make known to the school board in terms of the select board's thoughts on in regards to the impact of the town. But I know we have a number of people who have some comments that they'd like to make.
So let's start with Garrett because he wrote a letter that I thought was pretty well worded, and I wanted to just give us the highlights of that
Yeah.
and your thoughts.
I mean, to be clear, a lot of this is really about a plan B, because I think we all agree that the plan A is that our high school and our elementary school, our middle school, everything stays as is. But especially as we're looking at the revision of the town plan, which goes, I think, about 7 years before it will be revised again, I think we want to be really sure that our long-term interests are being looked at, both for our students and also for, you know, our grand list, our, you know, the future of our town. And I've heard a lot of voices of people who are really worried about what happens if the school closes and we end up sending our kids to MAU. And we have this moment where we can set up, hopefully, the option of sending our kids closer, actually, and to a better school, two better schools, in my opinion. And I think it's something that, you know, we should really be encouraging the school board to consider, because this is a long-term effect. And my understanding is, okay, we're safe. Sebastian said this at our meeting, and this is something that we've talked about as a planning commission since maybe the end of last year. Is what happens if we were to lose our high school. And now, you know, in the immediate, it looks like, you know, for the next couple of years, because this is a process, we don't have that much worry about the high school closing. And the whole idea of the voluntary consolidation, merger groups, sounds great, but I'm worried about what happens if there's no general agreement. From the articles I've read in different places, sitting behind that eventually is the possibility of forced consolidation. And when we lose our voice, our future voice, I think it has serious consequences. Now, the other thing I brought up in the letter I sent you guys is that Todd Wilkins had a great idea that he mentioned during town meeting about setting up a task force, allowing different groups of people, different stakeholders to get together and discuss. And it basically like a big subcommittee where all the different viewpoints can be expressed. And, you know, for us, it's just to look at what happens in the future if we end up with our worst case scenario. And I really do think that that's something that it would be great if the select board maybe acted on, because we haven't heard anything from the school board. They've gotten very involved with, the very immediate. But our job, I mean, certainly as a planning commission, but I mean, you guys as well as the select board, is to think of our future. And that's something that I don't know how I ended up liking planning so much, but I like thinking about this stuff, and I like thinking about what's going to happen. It's, we're talking about, for some of us, it's time beyond ourselves, like me. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I may not be here, 20 years from now to know what's happened, but I want to make sure that we have a good foundation for that. And one of the things for me is keeping our options open with our schools. I don't know if Jenna might talk, because I know she's listening, but she's got kids in school. She's talked to a lot of people. She's heard about, what people think about what happens if we end up having to send kids south. And I think it's a legitimate concern for our future. Anyway, I could say a lot more, but I probably should stop there.
Okay, Jenna, why don't you unmute yourself if you have anything to contribute and weigh in?
Just the first point of clarification, I guess, that I would make is that Elizabeth, who's sitting in the room right there, was actually the one that had the idea of forming the task force. And that's something that she had talked to the board about. And so when Todd had mentioned it at the town meeting, that was after Elizabeth had talked to the board about that idea. So I just want to give credit where credit's due, that was her presentation to the board. Yeah, I think there's a lot of confusion around this process and what people want. One of the biggest things that I've just been advocating for is for the board to ask people what they want. And I think that was something that the task force was supposed to accomplish, was kind of gathering public input on this topic so that the board could go into these discussions well informed with what the people want and confident in that. There haven't been very many opportunities for people to share how they feel with the whole process with the board. So that's something that we have been pushing the school board to do. And now we're getting close to the process starting, and that still hasn't happened. So that is one of my biggest concerns, is just that there haven't been very many opportunities for people, aside from individually, to express what they want, through a public survey, for instance, or through these regular meetings of a task force where we can focus on this topic.
Yeah, there's very, very little opinion gathering of record, right?
Right.
Which is concerning.
Yeah, and then I think people are just kind of acting off of what they've heard, right? And I know what I've heard when I talk to people about this, but to have the board to be informed about how different community members feel about this, I think is important as they're going into such a monumental process. So that's the one thing that I know I'm hoping for as a constituent, is to be asked as a community member what I want the board to do as they're moving through this process.
Thank you, Jenna.
Elizabeth, please.
Yes, go ahead, Elizabeth.
So I did actually bring a public comment for the record. And I don't know if folks saw the Bennington Banner article today. It came out, so I included copies of that. And it's just the Bennington Banner article is just context, and I do have my notes here, which differ slightly from the record public comment, because I'm hoping to provide, like Jenna just did, Garrett just did, some context for kind of where we are in this process. So first, thank you to the select board for taking this issue up. I think it shows good leadership. I think it recognizes something very important, which is basically that this merger process facing Arlington, it reaches well beyond just the schools, as Garrett mentioned. It affects our planning, our economic vitality, our housing, our ability to attract and retain families. And I know that's something that Jenna has spoken about also, and the planning commission has also discussed. Certainly possibly housing values. We know there is research that shows that, you know, educational outcomes are tied to housing values. So, you know, it's interesting. There was an article actually recently this week in the Times about, you know, when schools close, it can affect housing values to go down unless there are better opportunities with higher sort of performing outcomes as the alternatives. And I think, you know, that conversation about closure does kind of pull at our heartstrings and cause some folks in the community to panic. But like Garrett said, I mean, the state has sort of given us this mandate and we're not alone. Every town in our school district in the state has been asked to have these conversations about potential mergers and consolidation because enrollment overall is dropping. Every elected leader has recognized that our education costs are high, and with low enrollment, those costs kind of only go up. And so the intent of Act 170, absolutely 100%, is to get into a group. It doesn't guarantee a merger. It doesn't guarantee closure. It doesn't guarantee consolidation. They asked us to get into a merger group and in good faith have these conversations about, you know, innovative configurations and what those opportunities can look like. So as folks had kind of mentioned, this task force, right? So in February, I had reached out to the board about a potential task force. That was reiterated at the town meeting in March, and the board chair did say that he was going to follow through, or the board would follow through on that. We look forward to that, but the work has not been taken up to date. Also, as Jenna mentioned, Jenna, myself, other community members have actually reached out to the board and given many public comments at their board meetings asking for things that would kind of help prepare us and move us along in this process, and even just assessing where we stand. Things like presenting a transparent record of our school performance, right? Because as a community, if we're going to defend and say we want to be Arlington, we kind of have to know what we're defending and what our options and our opportunities are. So that has been requested, specific targeted surveys, broader surveys and targeted surveys, you know, for families like an elementary school and middle school who will undoubtedly be affected by this. And so here we are 6 months later, and the law has passed, and the next stopping point is that the facilitators are to be hired by September 1st. The facilitator's first step is to actually consult the school boards about their preferences in merger discussion groups. We are placed tentatively in group 4. The board has this opportunity to choose something different or express a different preference. I gave public comment in June at the school board meeting, kind of reminding the board that really the only way a facilitator could adequately consult the board would be for the board to actually discuss it and come to a vote. At this point, either affirming what's been affirming our group 4 or expressing a preference otherwise. That's just simple board procedure, right? If it's somebody consulting, the board has to have a board vote. So that was discussed, and I think to date, we haven't really had that move forward either. And so this sort of makes the select board's role very important because we're sort of lacking this community input, and the board has been sort of slow to ask. And the question, I think, as Sebastian said, it's a very specific, small question, which is just this: should Arlington, you know, stay in group 4 for discussions, or should we actually explore our merger opportunity in group 3? So more context. I've been out going door to door in the community. I've been at farmers markets and walking the streets. I think probably a lot of people have seen me. And I've been collecting signatures for a petition. And the petition, again, is a simple question. It's, you know, in order to show the school board that there is support in the community for them to act and take a vote to ensure that Arlington begins this process in group 3, the Manchester oriented group. So far, I'm over 120 signatures. I'm nearly that 5% of the voter roll. I'm going to keep collecting signatures for many weeks to come, but I've been having these conversations, and I think the community understands what we've been asked to do in the law. And I think that they remember that the community didn't want to merge with our neighbors to the south during Act 46. And so I have heard a lot of people say they are hopeful about a conversation to explore opportunities, not necessarily that they want it to for sure happen, but they are hopeful about a different conversation with our neighbors to the north. Obviously, I've gotten some signatures and I haven't had that many people say no. Again, just anecdotally, the select board's role in this, I have come across many people who have expressed a hesitation to sign, not because they don't support a group 3, but because they feel conflicted, right? Maybe they're employed by the school. Maybe their families are, their spouse is employed by the school. And so they can't express, they don't feel that they can sign a document to really express their support for this move. And so again, as leaders in the community, I think that your voice becomes very, very important and influential for those people who maybe don't feel that they can sign and say, I really support this because of their conflict. So essentially, I handed out this Bennington Banner article just to kind of, and I don't want to go deeply into it, but the board chair was quoted in the article, the Arlington School District Board Chair. And I'm only bringing this up again to just sort of illustrate why the leadership of the select board and the planning commission could be helpful and influential here. So the board chair was quoted in today's Bennington Banner as saying, "It has always been the goal of the school board to maintain Arlington schools as they currently exist. And that is the goal, and that this goal will help lead the board through the merger discussions." And so on the surface, that is consistent with the position that the AST board maintained during Act 46, and it may reflect perhaps a historical view that the board is relying on now. This Act 170 is a different process, and it requires these districts to participate in their merger discussions in good faith. And so if the board enters this process with maintaining the current structure as its predetermined goal, I think there's a legitimate question about whether Arlington can fully explore the alternatives the law is asking these groups to consider. And so I just think it's another reason it's important the community demonstrate support for a specific proactive decision now to begin the process in group 3. Participate openly and in good faith, and use the process to determine what structure actually serves Arlington, not just now, but in the future, for future generations. Rather than to begin with the answer already decided, as in the status quo is the way we're going to approach this process. So I think there are a lot of good reasons, strong reasons for Arlington to begin in group 3, but I'm just going to summarize a few to kind of help you think about it. So I think group 3 reflects many of Arlington's existing community and regional relationships. Again, as I'm out talking to people, I can't even explain. I've been to so many houses where people work in Manchester, or somebody works in Manchester but also works in Arlington, and so those relationships are there. I think families seek recreation in Manchester, other educational opportunities. I mean, we have to be honest, a lot of our families do seek educational opportunities in Manchester already if they are able to do so. So the other interesting thing is I thought about this outside of education from an ecotourism standpoint. We share the Battenkill Valley. And so, projecting out, a decade from now, we're thinking about a plan and we're thinking about our economic vitality and our ecotourism. That is not disconnected from who we tie ourselves to as an education system. And I think that's a sort of important point not to lose. I think we've already spent years in this sort of administrative Bennington regional structure. And so this is an opportunity that maybe wouldn't even otherwise exist if not for this process for us to explore something different. I think
And to explore it without a commitment to
yeah,
necessarily do anything.
yeah, right, exactly. So I think that it creates this opportunity for a good faith, meaningful good faith conversation. I think we need to put this, we should put educational opportunity and high quality opportunities first in this process. And so again, I think they're also referenced, the plan B, right? And so that expanded opportunity really, I think many of our community members, I certainly feel that exists with our neighbors to the north. Lastly, inaction makes things very difficult as this process unfolds. So if the board is not to act or just says, well, we're already in group 4 and to follow through, it's not that they can't change the group. They can, but it makes it harder for everybody. It makes Arlington an unfriendly neighbor. It makes us a disrupting force to the process. Rather than to just start in the group for which we have the foresight to see the opportunity from the very beginning. And so I'm not asking the select board to decide today that we should merge or close or any of that, but just simply to weigh in as leaders about where you see, as many of our community members do, the opportunity for a fruitful and robust and innovative conversation in the discussion group 3.
So I've been trying to follow a lot of this online, and I've seen some towns up north that have had their select boards write some letters and stuff already. What is the timeline on the study groups? If we were going to write a letter, it would have to be composed and everything and agreed upon by all of us. What is a timeline that we would have to get something to them saying, as a select board, we would urge you to go this way?
So, one opportunity would be to do it before the Arlington School Board regular meeting, and to maybe reach out, and so that it ensures that it's on their agenda. I don't believe they put out an agenda for their August meeting. I think.
You know the date of that meeting?
Online, it says like August 22nd, but Josh said it was probably August 16th. I think their Google Calendar is not synced, but there is one in August. There was not one in July.
That's right.
Yeah, but there is one in August, and I'll work on getting a solid date.
So, go ahead.
Go ahead, Matt.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna wrap that up. And so if that didn't happen, again, I think that the facilitator consulting the board means that the board actually has to vote. I could be wrong about that, but I don't see how the board gets consulted as a group without that. If that doesn't work for August, I think they would have to have a special meeting with that particular agenda item on it. Sometime between when the facilitator is hired and September 15th, when they're supposed to.
September 15th.
They're supposed to appoint their committee representative by September 15th. I'm sorry.
One other question. The
Go ahead,
school
Karen.
board is supposed to submit their committee representative to join the merger groups by September 15th.
One other question. Sandgate is very closely tied to us. Has anyone talked to Sandgate about this?
I have written email to Sandgate,
Okay.
Ralph Rossi. Sandgate's a little different because they tuition everything. They don't operate anything. And there's different theories, but they may be able to go along, by themselves, even if they're part of the Bennington Supervisory Union, although there could be some problems down the road for them.
It's different when you operate schools and spend funds on them and have taxes to do that. I've suggested they'd be better off in group three, and that they may save some money on what they're paying to the supervisory union in Bennington versus the one up in Manchester.
Because I know I drive that bus route every day during school, so we transport their students all play sports here, so on, so they are very much an embedded part of the Arlington community.
That's a good point.
Matt?
Matt, go ahead.
So I appreciate everybody's comments and submitting the information, Garrett and everybody, the letter. I've read through it. And I do recall at town meeting where the school board chair did mention that they would build this task force, a couple select board members, key community members of that. Well, I don't think that in my opinion, I don't think that the select board, we can take like a definitive stance at this point to the school board. I feel like we could write a strongly worded letter to the school board to develop that task force and act on it in a timely manner, to garner the correct information and hear what their constituents want them to do. That's kind of where I landed on this, just in my opinion, and from reading through it, that's what we could do. The other point that I wanted to make in the article that was in the banner today, so it's from that my understanding that the SVSU and the BRSU are two supervisory unions that'll be together in the region as part of the CESA, and
Which is different from which is different from the merger groups.
okay. It's very confusing, but I know they've got a meeting on August 6th at Mill River. But from the merger group, I mean, the other thing is that I just strongly urge everybody that is passionate, and this is a topic, that go to the school board meeting and be heard at the school board meeting as well. I think, ultimately they have to take the action to do this as their board.
I have a question for the group before we move on to the next one, and it's kind of related to what Matt said.
I think Liz has another comment after that.
That's fine. The task force, who is responsible for setting that up? The school board, I would think. But yeah, so we can ask them to go ahead and set that up and get it moving, but I don't think we can set that up. I don't think there's any decision making we can do prior to setting that up.
I don't know that I agree with that, Dan. I think, and to the effect that, for example, like Jenna has organized a group that is very invested in the schools and taking, doing some work that they feel that the school board isn't doing. I think anybody could set up a task force to research it. It's just that ultimately the decision lies with the school board.
Correct.
Right? The task force, whether it's set up by the school board or another entity, wouldn't be making that decision either. It would be merely to investigate and present to the school board, here are our findings as a task force. And I think if the original intent from the school board was, as suggested, was to include, for example, members of the select board, members of the planning commission, members of the community, there's not any compelling reason to me why any one of those groups couldn't set up a task force and extend an invitation to the school board to offer up members. And then if they don't want to participate, that's fine. We'll still present our findings.
I don't disagree with that. If the school board, which, to the chairs, to the point that the chair did say that they were going to do that at town meeting. Now, if they decide that they don't want to do that and they're going back against their word, then maybe that sets another precedent in and of itself that's a telltale sign as to where this will pan out. But really, the school board should, in my opinion, set up the task force and run that task force to gather the information, because they need that information, and it would be more credible if it was their task force in making their decision. Go ahead, Jenna.
Or Liz.
Elizabeth.
Oh, Liz, I'm sorry.
Jenna's
No,
remote.
that's okay. That's okay. So just since I asked for the task force, just to provide the context, I asked for it in February because I saw the need to act urgently and timely, because I knew that the end of session was going to bring about a decision on which there is a very rapid timeline for what the law says the process is. And I'm not saying that there isn't value in a task force. There most definitely is. Once the facilitator assigns Arlington to a group, which will be very quickly, because the first meeting of merger discussion groups is in October. So we have September 1st, the facilitator is hired. The facilitator will consult the board about what group they want to be in. If our board just decides to be silent, the facilitator may very well just keep us in group 4. And if that happens, then we'll have our board will send a member to that discussion group. And then those discussions will all take place with that Bennington-centered group in group 4, starting in October. And so at that point, if that happens, then they are public meetings, and certainly a task force and information from a task force can be then trotted to wherever that group 4 public meeting is and presented to the group. But that's not a very proactive position if it is the position that the community would prefer to be in a different group. And so, again, task force is valuable, but my opinion, when I asked for it, I felt that the value was in early proactive data gathering, so that we could really glean the community's input and assess data to understand our.
Katie, will you get rid of that rogue person, please?
Yeah.
Before something else comes up.
Quickly.
Cancel Darius.
Thank you.
And then just for context, so task force could still be valuable if it doesn't quite have the urgency or the immediacy that we would really need. Even if the school board did a task force now, it's sort of like as a auxiliary data collection tool to feed into whatever merger group we're already in, which that has its own set of processes, right? And so just the other piece of it is just, I actually think, from what I've heard, I think that the planning commission or the select board has just as much credibility in setting up a task force.
So, quick question.
Yeah.
If we decide we want to go north and we appoint a member up there, we are still already a part of that. So do we have any discussions in the group 4 still?
So we have a business administrative relationship that was forced upon us during Act 46, and we will conduct those administrative.
That will continue.
That will continue.
It's just the discussions going forward. We will only have a representative up there discussing
Yeah.
what's going forward.
Yeah,
with
and
this.
at some point in the process, the facilitator, if it's determined that the entire group 4 and the entire group 3 need to get together, the facilitator can make that happen. But again, that would require us, our representatives sitting in group 4 saying, oh no, we all need to go talk to group 3. And just, that's very difficult. That would be a very difficult, I think, argument to make to group 4, especially because they have mergers that can happen without us. Their elementary boards and their middle high school boards can merge without us to become a K-12 board. They have discussions about their elementary schools that could occur without us. All of them are under enrolled. They need to actually consolidate. Their middle and high school are at historic lows of enrollment as well. And so they'll survive. They meet all the legal thresholds without us, but at the same time, they have work to do sort of independent.
And in all likelihood, they're going to make those decisions about how that looks without really considering where we fit in. We'll just land in whatever they decide is the final solution, would be my guess.
Garrett had another.
And I think it's really appropriate for the select board to express its view that, this has more than just an immediate question involved in that, we do have to consider what happens in scenarios that could happen and what's in the best interest of our town. And I think, honestly, that's what you guys do all the time. Sometimes you're really working on the very, small stuff, but this is what the select board exists for. This is what the planning commission exists for, is really assessing the future and looking at the future. And as I said, what we want, I mean, the high school is kind of, our school district is kind of like the cultural plinth of our town in a lot of ways. And it's really just considering what happens if suddenly we find ourselves without it. I don't know if people are saying we should just close the school and go this way or that way. I think people are very conscious of the fact that this is, the survival of our school is the most important thing that we think about. However, it's a bit, I don't want a bit of a dereliction of our own obligations not to consider where we go if something bad happens. And we have been looking for about 1.5 years, 2 years at the possibility that something bad is going to happen. I can't tell you how many people in different organizations have told me that the school is cooked. And now that seems like maybe that's not the case. But I mean, I just think, we've given a long time, and it looks like we're in a closing window to sort of at least make clear that there's stuff we need to think about beyond, that really does need to be thought about. And some of it comes down to, as I see it, the survival of our town long term, and keeping a good amount of people in our town. And the truth of the matter is that there's a big difference in going south or going north. A very big difference. And it's something that I really believe the select board can weigh in on. I think that you guys should be able to set up a task force and invite the school to participate. And I can't imagine they'd say no. That's about all I have to say there.
I just want to add, because it's kind of come up a couple times, but the one thing that really jumped out at me from the Bennington Banner article is the description of the stated goals of the merger study group being to include districts of certain size, which include towns that are geographically contiguous. And I'm just thinking about my time living here and raising kids from birth to now in elementary school. And at almost every single turn, having those kids continually pulls me more and more toward Manchester. Even though we have a school here for daycare options before they were eligible for pre-K, there were just more options looking north than there were going south. Plus, it's a real time difference. It's, 5-10 minute difference adds up to twice that going both ways, 4 times that when you're making 2 trips to drop kids off. For after school activities, we find options to the north often. For summer camps, we often find ourselves more pulled toward the north. For GISP and those programs, we go toward the north. So my gut just says that Manchester is more geographically contiguous with us than Bennington. And it's not because we were actively trying to avoid Bennington. It's just that that's where the options always continue to seem to present ourselves. And I don't imagine that changes as they get into high school.
The gentleman in the orange shirt.
Thank you, Ralph Rossi. I agree with all the speakers, Eric. I have to be my wife by marriage, but outside of that, I will say this is very tied up in property values and taxes. And even if you're not going to cut the brush going down the river for the prior gentleman, that money saved in the tax bill might go up if they keep raising school taxes to prop up a high school that's under enrolled. And while Senator Baumgarten, and I got to thank Todd for inviting him, is very right. Nothing has to happen right now. Nothing has to happen in these merger groups other than participation in good faith. Down the road, after the state fixes foundation aid, they're going to put a cap on how much more you can raise taxes to support your schools. So if you didn't get in a merge, you didn't merge and you stayed outside, becomes a point where you can't raise the taxes and you can't support a program that's going to give whatever the state calls it in the Constitution, but a sound basic education to students. At that point, probably be forced to tuition out or do something. I would never have a fear for Fisher because of the geographic distances and people like local elementary schools. But above that, all the other districts, whether you believe it or not, are eyeing Arlington's enrollment. They want it in the South because it props up their buildings and their enrollment, their money, our grand list. They want it in the North too because they have plans for middle schools, supporting high schools. And that's where you're going to find yourself. And so if the board could, they don't take a vote, but if the select board could even give them a letter and approach it supporting school board, I think they're starting to feel isolated. I think that's what you see in the banner. They may just like, okay, we're just going to insulate ourselves and ride this out. But it's a big moment. There's a reason why same square foot house in Arlington, if we dropped it in Manchester or Dorset, it's $100,000 to $200,000 more expensive. Some of that is about school quality. Some of that is why people want to live there or the other people who live there. But it can't be ignored, and it has an impact. And if we're grouped with Bennington, property values are going to suffer. So that was just I wanted to second that. But there is this later thing that happens once foundation aid is set, where it's going to be difficult. And I don't know what the poor schools up in the north are, because they can't sustain multiple under-enrolled high schools. They're going to have
the further
the real north, Albany,
yeah,
right? Where we cut my logs from my house were cut, that sort of. The other thing I just wanted to note, and I'm not offering any legal advice or singling anybody out. If the board does something on a school issue, your conflict of interest now runs to the school issue and not to the normal town issues. And so just keep that in mind if there's any recusals or anything that has to happen in your own conflict of interest policy. What?
I don't know.
Well, the normal contracts are
He's
contracts to this town itself.
where
not
we
to the
would
school
normally
district.
feel ourselves to recuse ourselves in a conflict of interest with town business. He's pointing out that in this case, we consider that it's school business. So the conflict of interest might change.
And I thank you for holding the meeting and for your time.
So, in my opinion, I mean, I don't think that the select board as a body can force the school board to go one direction or the other. I'm just thinking through this, and it's important that, in my opinion, that all of our constituents are heard on the topic. I was trying to think, how could you approach this? Obviously, going to the school board meetings and making your voice heard there is a great first start. And Griff agrees. But, the other thing, and I don't know where going to these merger groups is that fall under Title 16 and explicit union withdrawal or formation steps? I'm not sure. But you could petition the school board to hold a public vote, either for binding or non-binding, so that all of the community members could weigh in by Australian ballot.
I mean, there are communities that have done that recently up north. I think that me personally, I've thought about that since I constructed the petition, and whether or not I wanted to draft an article that could meet that 5% threshold to make it to the ballot. My concern about that is that it shortchanges the discussion process, right? So we're supposed to be heading into this process with good faith and hope and opportunity and innovation. And I think as soon as we sort of put it on the ballot, I think it at least up north, it tended to be like, do we merge now or not? Mm-hmm. Do we close now or not? And that's supposed to be way down the road and not sort of the decision before us right now is just what table has the most hope, opportunity, and innovation in order to go to.
I appreciate that. I just want to make sure that all sides and that all of our constituents are heard. So that's why I suggest that. I don't think from the select board I could make a decision one way or the other without talking to a large number of our constituents to understand what their views and desires are, because ultimately we work for the taxpayers.
Would it be reasonable, in order to generate some action in this narrow time frame, for the select board to draft a letter to the school board, not urging one direction or the other, but simply urging them to embrace the opportunity to make a decision and drawing their attention to some of the matters that are more under our concern, that aren't necessarily directly associated with the schools and performance and the pupils, but things like property values, geographic, like economic opportunities, infrastructure, and like any of the things that are under our domain that we feel would be impacted. And just as a simple sort of, we support you in the decision that you are faced with. These are the things from our side, our seats that we think will be affected by the decision, and we urge you to consider them. Something along those lines.
Yeah, I think that, really a well-drafted, strongly worded letter would be appropriate from the select board, taking those considerations into the body of that fall under our purview, like you just said, Sebastian. I think we just have to be careful that we're not taking a stance or an opinion on which direction they should go, but that they make a well-educated decision based on facts and desires of their constituents.
Yeah, and urging them to seek out information on those domains, right? So in the letter, maybe we don't offer that information, but they would be free to obviously, come to a select board meeting and ask us how we think that these things might be affected one way or the other, right? Or,
well, yeah, because I think it would be important to hear from the select board or from the school board as well. I mean, to have a member of the school board come to the select board meeting and discuss that with us and, ultimately what their decision is going to be. It would be appropriate for them to communicate to us and really to all the constituents as to why they made that decision. And we would hope that it would be a very well-educated decision. That they used facts and the desires of their constituents and made that educated decision.
I think,
to Jamie's point earlier, not everything stays the same, right? And change is inevitable. I don't know on the current makeup of the board if there's resistance to change or not. But from the school board, but I think that having a very open mind in this process is incredibly important. So, a strongly worded letter to that effect would be appropriate, in my opinion.
I think that would certainly hopefully do something.
Garrett, go ahead.
I think you can mention in that letter that you had been excited as a board by the idea of a task force that was mentioned in the town meeting, and that you would look forward to participating in a task force to help address some of these issues that you're bringing up, if they were to do that, and that you feel that it would be positive for a real discussion that engages more of the town than just to contribute. And you want to put that the planning commission would like to join that too. It is absolutely true. Obviously, it would be not a plurality, of course, but I mean, I just think that we should put on the table that, this would actually be a very good idea. This would be really good for the town. This would be, this allows for them to make a well-informed decision that gives them an idea of where people stand. And there are going to be people for and there are going to be people against. I think it's good also to say we've got a shared vision of what we really want, which is that our school up the block there stays there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So is anybody planning on going to the vote next week? We've got a vote, correct? Primaries? next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Somebody could be there with your letter to.
Yeah, next Tuesday's primary day.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what the sense of the rest of the board is. I'm in favor of writing that letter, kind of, you know, to Sebastian's point, pointing out the areas that are under our purview and making that well-educated decision and sending that to the school board. Sebastian, maybe you and Katie could work together on that, and then we could have a draft, and you know, I mean, we could even have a special meeting to approve that if necessary.
Yeah, because if possible, I'd love to get that in their hands before the next school board meeting, which is before our next meeting, if it's on the 16th.
Yeah, we can have a special meeting to do that.
Okay. So Katie, maybe we'll work
And we could
together.
probably do it all by Zoom. That would be fine as long as the documents are circulated ahead of time.
Yep. I just want to weigh in on what Sebastian and Matt both said last.
That's the SVSU meeting. Sorry.
My one concern, I agree with what everyone has said here. I agree we should leave our options open. However, I can see a possible pitfall. I'm not saying it is, but it's possible. We don't want to necessarily step on the toes of the school board
No,
by standing up a committee and then have it backfire in your
I agree.
purpose.
I agree, and I don't. If our intention was we really want a committee to do some stuff before the September 1st or September 15th, then I think if we wanted that to happen, we would have to do it ourselves. But that is not my preferred path, and I think.
No. Well, I just think that might blow up in our face.
I think the time has passed for that to be its most effective. I think right now the best thing we can do is gently remind the school board that they offered to do this and we were excited to do it. Absent that happening, we've taken the liberty of outlining some of the things that we think will be affected. We're not necessarily saying what will happen which way or the other, but for them to please consider, and that we absolutely are here to help them gather data if they want it, help evaluate the impact on these arenas because they're our domain and we know them well, and to ultimately support them in making a decision, and that we trust them to make a decision that is in the best interest of not just the schools, but the town and their students.
Sebastian, just for reference, the SVSU website says that the next Arlington School Board meeting is on the 12th, which is next Wednesday.
Okay.
I mean, we could, if you can get that letter together relatively quickly,
sure.
Katie and Sebastian, I mean, we could post, what do we need, Katie, 24 hours for a special meeting?
Yes.
Yes, 24 hours, yeah.
And we could do it remotely to approve that. Wouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fire whistles going off here.
So if we got a draft by like the end of this week,
That would probably do the best, get the best results, actually.
All right.
And then we could do like a special meeting.
Yeah, if we did a draft by the end of the week and we could have our meeting on
like warn it on Monday,
or warned on Monday, and then we could hand deliver it to the school board on Tuesday. I mean, that's a possibility, right? Because you said they have a meeting on Tuesday?
On the Wednesday
the 12th. So yeah, but it could be hand delivered.
Yeah. Sure.
Or it's sent to them via email and then a hard copy hand delivered at the school board meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Some deadlines on my phone.
Okay, anything
I'm
else?
happy to help wordsmith it,
merger?
but
I
think you should take a stab at the content to start.
Yeah, I'll probably look to you, Matt, to help add any contributions around, especially the details of the town operations that we think might be affected, because I'm newer at that part.
Yep, and I think touch base with Garrett too on that as well.
Yeah,
from the planning commission side.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much for considering this.
Thank you for coming.
Yes,
Thank
thanks
you
everyone
very
for coming. Absolutely. All right.
Moving on to number 9, potential walk of Bennington Hollow Road with Green Mountain National Forest.
Yes, so
Katie,
this.
you had some stuff on that, I think?
Yes, so this does not require an action, but because I have all of you in the same place mostly, the National Forest gave me some dates that they're available to come here and walk the road with us. I don't think all board members need to go, but I think it'd be good if at least a few of you guys laid eyes on it. I've walked it with Cynthia. It's a really lovely walk. But I think all of us there really like looking at the state of the road and the parking areas would give a lot of like good background to the situation we have with them. And I think it'd be really good for Martina and Sally to see it as well, because I don't think it's as like pristine as they believe it to be. So we've got August 12th, which is technically only a morning. I forgot to include that, but anytime on August 25th, 26th, or 28th, they can meet us in the morning, afternoon. It'll take 20 minutes. So if you can step away from work or whatever, it would be good, but it won't be a long walk, 20 minutes, half an hour. So if you guys can all settle on a date, I can email them tomorrow, we can get it in the books, or if you need more time, but I thought it'd be good since we're all here.
What was your first date?
August 12th.
It's only in the morning, but then any time on August 25th, 26th, and 28th.
That's first
Do
week.
we want to all go and just warn it as a public meeting field trip?
I mean, we could, but I didn't know it.
It's first week of
It's the
school,
first week
so
of
I'll be
school,
bus driving.
so it'll be a busy week for folks. I can wear like a camera.
No, I'll finally be free.
Yeah, I'll have your kids.
The 12th probably isn't good for me based on my diary, but
Yeah,
Tuesday, the 25th would be the best for me.
okay,
The 26th, 27th, whatever, the rest of that week I'm driving, so.
yeah,
I could do the 25th. We can make
Okay.
that work.
yeah, the 25th would work best would work either the 25th or the 28th, but probably the 25th.
okay, great.
What time?
Really anytime. I mean, they said that they can come down, so if morning or afternoon is better for us, I can communicate that to them and say like, we can all make the 25th, but we'd prefer it to be in the morning or the afternoon, whatever's easier for you all.
I can do either.
Afternoon works better for me, but I can make the morning work. It's
I can probably make anything work.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll feel them out, and if something comes up in the next couple of days, you guys let me know, but I'll let them know definitely the 25th. And yeah, I think that would be good for us in moving forward with that situation. So thank you all.
yeah. I've got and I think Katie, we just warn it as a meeting and then we'll whoever can go for
Yeah.
the select board. It doesn't matter, right? If we're over,
If
if
three or
it's
more of
three
us
or
show up,
more,
should be warned.
then we're just completely covered. There'll be no meetings
Yes.
from the minute, the
Yeah.
meetings will be very brief from the special field trip.
It's a
Right,
site
and-
visit. Site
Right.
visit.
Site visit, yeah, so there's no action to be taken, so yeah, just a site
Yep.
visit.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay,
Okay. Next item, number 10, Water Department, update on water work.
yes,
I
so.
can tell you they fixed the spot in front of my house that was leaking about 30,000 gallons a day.
That's great. That's good to hear. Josh has been fixing a lot of leaks that have been identified. He did 2 last week. I think he was going to try to do 2 this week, but we'll see with the weather. The new generator is getting installed up at the pump house. Propane has not been run to it yet, but I think GMP was out there today running power. So that work is underway. And then once that gets done, it should be done this week. He's just going to go back to replacing service lines. So that was Josh's update.
Okay.
And Katie, one thought that I had around that, and I know that he's talking with them to bring propane in and for the generator, we talked about putting a electric heat pump in that building, but I don't know what the overall insulation is and what the heat loss calculation is for that building given its age. So my one thought was alternatively to an electric heat pump is that we also think about a like monitor propane type heater in there of some sort. If we've got the propane, that may be more effective in keeping that building warm in the winter. I've only been in there like twice, so I don't remember how well it's insulated, right? I just hate to be spending hundreds of, thousands and thousands of dollars in electricity to keep it at, 55 degrees when we could spend half that in, a different fuel source that would be more efficient given the structure.
Yeah, so I think the long-term plan is to put up like an insulation and then like drywall in there. Currently, there's no it's essentially like a shed. There's no insulation, and you kind of like see through to the outside.
We have a
Question over here.
Oh,
I'm a member of the Arlington Energy Committee, and I'm wondering if you'd like us to get involved in this question. That's what we're here for. I mean, it's.
Well, I mean, the building's like Swiss cheese, if I remember. I don't think I saw much insulation at all. I mean, a heat pump's going to cost us thousands of dollars to run in the winter to keep the building from freezing. So, I'm sure that Josh and we could have, I don't know if I want to spend the money for an architect and engineer to do a heat loss calculation, but I don't know if the energy committee is, do you guys have the skills to do a heat loss calculation for the building?
Karen, as a former member of the Arlington Energy Committee, I can say absolutely yes. We have a lot of friends who have worked for energy efficiency evaluation. What are those called?
Efficiency
audits.
Are they, as long as somebody's got an engineer stamp that can approve it and take the, the responsibility for it to be accurate. And if, I get the idea that the Energy Committee really wants us to put in an electric air source heat pump there. And that's great. But the problem is that I want to make sure that we're not wasting a ton of money in electricity and that the ROI calculation is appropriate.
Matt, I don't think that the Energy Committee has made any recommendation in terms of putting a heat pump into that building.
Not in that building, but you have for town hall, and I still haven't seen the ROI calculation as to whether or not that would actually save us money.
Right, big differences, and each one of these projects is unique. But the reason we exist is for you to be able to come to us and ask us to get involved in these questions. So I would respectfully ask that the select board ask for our participation. Well, perhaps Karen would have some other thoughts on that.
I mean, it's a shed. I don't know if we have to kill it by committee, but I
can tell you on behalf of the Arlington Energy Committee and all people who understand thermal heating requirements, I don't care if it's electricity with a heat pump or a standing heater or propane or oil, nothing should be done before it gets buttoned up. It's just if you put even a propane system in that, you're just heating the outside. So the first step, and I'm sure the Energy Committee will endorse this concept, and we have passed this as a resolution in the past. And Efficiency Vermont says the same thing. The first step you do, and it's already been done at Town Hall, is you have an energy audit. And you button it up before you do any kind of.
Don't disagree with you. I mean, I don't disagree with you whatsoever. I don't know as though we have a budget to do that at the moment for that building. I mean, we could also investigate the new clean coal and just put a little coal stove in there, but we're probably not going to do that. So it's whatever we can find that, would fit within our budget for what we have, because there is a requirement to keep that building from freezing.
Well, so it's interesting you bring up requirement. The reason why we're putting in a new generator is because VLCT Passive came out to do an assessment of that structure and found that the generator was unsafe. There was some electrical that was unsafe. It requires a door larger than what is there for someone to be in and working. So all of the safety work has to be completed first before we can even talk about putting in insulation, putting in drywall. We have to first get it back under coverage under our insurance because we're in violation in a couple of different areas. So before we can even talk about like energy efficiency of that building.
Yeah, we got to get the
first we
VOSHA
have to
stuff
make
done,
it
and this is
really the
part of
VOSHA.
that, and we're under
And
the
that's,
time
and
frame.
nothing is gonna derail us from doing that. I don't want to put
Right.
this work on hold to do energy work.
And
So
I just, you know, people talking about drywall is for attractiveness. There are other, forms of, insulating materials that are very adequate for a shed type of structure.
I don't think he actually meant drywall.
Okay,
At
so,
some point,
you
we're
know,
gonna,
my point though is that we are supposed to exist as a committee to support the town of Arlington, meaning the, you know, not the residences, but those things to which the taxpayers and, you know, I don't, excuse me, I don't know if that particular building is one that is supported by taxpayers or only by the monies collected because people.
It's paid
The water
for by
department.
the ratepayers of the water company. It is not paid for under the town budget.
Okay, so.
So I don't think the Energy Committee would apply because it's paid for out of the water department budget, which is funded by the ratepayers of the water system.
For anything that we do now.
I appreciate that, and I thank you for your input. I'll take it under advisement.
Okay, moving on to number 11, the Highway Department. Katie,
Yes.
do you have anything to add?
So I've got the 2 weeks of projects for highway. As of last Thursday, Chunks Brook was finished. They also took down 6 dead trees that were in the right of way. They ditched it, stone lined it, mulched it, so Chunks Brook is done. We got rained out today, but they're supposed to be grading the north end of Chunks. The guys might have done that this afternoon after the rain, but we'll see. Up next is River Road, culverts, ditching, tree removal. They've been helping out at the pump house doing ditching for Josh. And then I got with Mark on Springbrook Lane that comes down to 313. And that there's I guess an agreement that it's a private road, but because we have an alternative spring house there, we help kind of maintain the road. And the grader that we currently have is too big to grade that narrow road. But the road kind of needs to be graded. They need to put some material in because stuff is washing out onto 313. So I talked with Mark about a couple alternatives we could do there. But that's just, you know, kind of in my mind. And I don't know what we did previously up there. And I'm still trying to like wrap my head around a private road that we maintain. But I just want to keep you guys updated because the state did notify Mark about washout from Springbrook Lane onto 313. So we're just trying to figure that out. If we could like contract somebody out with a smaller grader for a day to grade it. Yeah, that's kind of where we are with that. And his 2-week project list.
And Katie, just for my reference, what was the percentage of completion on the previous 2-week list and what was the carryover?
So carryover was Chunks Brook. Grading on that, they thought they were going to be able, once they were done with the culverts, they could just grade it and Chunks Brook could be done, but that spilled into this week. So I think one of like the 6 things he had, or like 1.5. Yeah.
So Chunks Brook grading was the only carryover?
Yes, that and the River Road culverts, but I think they were just looking at culverts as a whole.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think he had the numbers for how many culverts are going in. I think River Road has 6.
Okay.
The rain hasn't been
No.
helping.
No. I know the rain didn't
Right.
help, but you know, on the rainy days, my other question, you know, I mean, if we have a project scheduled on a rainy day and we get rained out, what are we doing with our time on a rained out day, right?
So
Yeah.
they've been doing a lot of work on the CV up there. I do know that. They took the whole rear end
Oh,
apart.
yeah.
And they're trying to get that operational. But, they put a lot of time into that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to evaluate where our time's being spent. That's all.
Yep.
So one carryover is pretty good on that. I think, we'll keep going with the list and just keep calculating what our carryover is to see, from a planning perspective, if we're over or underestimating our 2-week goal.
Mhm. Yeah. The next
So
item,
beat and lag goals, right?
yeah. The next item,
For our wig.
the chassis quote. So you have 2 quotes before you, one from Western Star and one from International. Mark said that these 2027 are within the, gosh, how do I say this? Like how a mechanic would say it. How do the mechanics say it? The something is changing in 2027.
Yes, so the
Emissions. Yes.
control is changing, and that's gonna be a massive price increase. We've talked about that
Yes.
before.
Yeah.
So you're talking about $50,000 more
Yes.
just for the emissions control.
Yeah.
That's gonna throw us way out of our budget.
Yes. I mean, we're already looking at like almost $200,000, and this is a piece of equipment we need, like.
Yep.
So he's got 2 quotes, and going by our procurement policy, when making a purchase under 250,000, but more than 10,000, is that we bring forward 2 quotes. They are, I think, pretty much like identical vehicles. And the Western Star one had a plow package included. Disregard that. Mark can buy that in 2027. And that the price of a plow package is not going to change next year. So we can buy that in next year's budget. So only the starred items are for the Western, and yeah.
Refresh my memory, what truck is this chassis replacing?
It's one of the dump trucks.
Yeah.
The big trucks.
Yeah.
Which one though? What model year? How old is it?
I don't remember exactly which one.
Going by like town meeting minutes, it was discussed and voted on putting in the capital reserve fund money for the new truck. So I could go back in the minutes and look.
No, I appreciate that. I just am trying to figure, and I know that we put money in there for the truck and we've got the sinking fund. I'm just, if we're getting this new truck, I wanted to know which truck was it replacing and what was the age of that truck and the mileage, just so that I could calculate some rough numbers on, what did we get, or what did that old truck cost us, so that we can, estimate what this new truck is costing us, and, what the life expectancy of it is. So then we can say that, hey, it's going to last us 5 years and this is our cost per 5 years. We put about this many miles on it. Or, is it lasting us 10 years? Is it, I don't know. I don't know what it's
I think
replacing
you're
either,
over
so I want
10
to
years.
calculate the ROI on that.
Yeah, I think you're over 10 years on the old truck right now that they want to replace.
Okay. Well, I don't know. There was some talk
Pretty
about
sure.
replacing the CV too at one point, which
Well, the
isn't very
CV,
old.
so that's one of the reasons they've been doing so much work on the CV, is to try and get it to last through the winter. Right now, in talking with Mark up there, this truck won't actually be built and operational until next year.
Right.
Because we'll push all the body and all that off. But if we can buy it now, we save ourselves $50,000 in emissions for the cab and chassis. So the International that he priced out, that price is there. And then again, the Western Star.
Western Star.
The only caveat with the International is that has a new motor that has only been out for a year. And they're having good luck, but they're also having a lot of problems with it. So he's a little leery to go to that direction. Never know. You get a good one or you get a lemon, just like the CV. So whereas the Western Star has a Detroit engine in it, it's been proven, it's been out there for a long time. He knows what that is, so on and so forth. I think it's like an $18,000 price difference between the two. So.
What are the two bottom lines?
And looking at the old truck, he did get a kind of an estimate on what they don't want to take it in trade, really. They said, no, put it out on Auctions International and get rid of it that way. We'll make out better. But they didn't think we would get 20 to 25,000 for it.
So what's the bottom line on the Western Star and the International separately, minus that one component, the snowplow?
So I think the Western Star, if I take the snowplow component out of it, comes to $198,037.
Yes.
And the International is 179,850.
Yeah.
So that's what
$18,000, $18,037.
18,187
$187.
difference. So almost 20K price difference between the two.
How much, Katie, is in the sinking fund for that?
All right, town truck is 305 and 745, so just over 300,000.
305. My 2 cents worth is the 18,000 or say $20,000 difference is not worth the gamble that we get a lemon.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
I would
I
much
will
rather
agree
buy
that we haven't
proven
had the
quality.
best luck with the International that we have.
Yeah.
What was that?
Okay,
I didn't hear you, Matt.
I said I would agree that we haven't had the best luck with the last International that we purchased.
No.
Okay.
For the roughly 10% additional for something we know is going to be reliable, I just think it would be smart not to put
And-
that into maintenance.
What do we think the life expectancy of the truck is? A new truck. So if we bought this Western Star, how many years do we think we'll get out of it?
I think you're 10 to 15 years. Minimum 10, 15. Of course, they get the worst abuse because they're out in the worst weather all the time with the most corrosive products in them. So, but I would say easily between 10 and 15 years.
Another way to look at that 20,000, how much in the last, say, 2 years have we spent on maintenance?
Yes. For sure. A lot.
We had some motor problems. We had lug problems.
Yeah.
The rear
It's
end.
been pretty darn close to the 20,000, not over.
Yeah.
So that's another reason to go the other way. So
hold on here. I'm just making. Let's do that.
and I know
So
historically,
at 10 years, it would be effectively without regular maintenance, just short of 20, costing us 20,000 a year to carry that truck. without maintenance. So basically you're taking what the purchase price of it is, say it's a 10-year life expectancy. So then we know, okay, if we get 10 years out of it, we're paying just shy of 20,000, it's
Right.
20,000 a year on the amortization schedule. And we got to add in maintenance with it. I don't know if I see what the warranty is on that. I'm assuming it's probably
Probably 5 years.
5 years because that's
The
usually
Western
what,
is 7 years.
7 years on the
7
Western
years?
Star.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean that the 20,000, because the international had a 5-year warranty.
Correct.
So if we factor that in, that reduces our overall maintenance cost besides fluids and what I'm going to consider consumable parts on a truck like that. So, that doesn't sound bad to me in the least bit.
Yeah.
It would
So-
just be good that we try and make sure that, whichever decision we decide to make here, and when we get that new truck, that we do all of our regularly planned maintenances and maintain the truck in tip-top shape so that we can get 10 plus years out. And if we look at 10 years as our target and we get 12 or 13, those are bonuses, right?
Correct. So anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the chassis bid for a new truck, the Western Star from ATG Patriot LLC in the amount of $198.37.
198.
How much?
198,000.
Did I calculate that?
You said
198,037, right?
You
Yeah.
said $198.37.
Oh, no, I meant
No, that's not quite right.
198,037.
We knew what you meant.
198,037.
Yeah. Is there a second?
A second.
That was Jamie.
Okay, thank you. You two sound an awful lot alike, I'll tell you. So Matt made the motion to approve the Western Star proposal, and Jamie seconded it for $198,037 even. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I
Okay.
got the 1908 from my ROI calculations. So,
Oh, you're
you have to cut me some slack. I'm using the
Yeah.
HP 10.
You're using a real
12C.
calculator.
Oh my goodness.
All right, on to the fire department. Forest fire warden versus fire warden. I guess
Yes.
that's my understanding is both of them are applied under the new law, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, and we assigned Jamie the deputy in the July 6th meeting as well.
Yeah,
So there was no change really going
Well,
forward.
that was a moot issue, I thought.
Yeah.
So we have some input from the public just about under this new guidelines, how people request permits and how they can be followed up on. And the way that we talked about at the July 6th meeting, there wasn't a whole lot of change with that. A call is still placed, or if people need to get permits, they still follow the kind of the same process. But if you wanted to speak to it.
Right, I think you all know me, I'm Marty, Crane, Dodrell. I've sent all of you letters, and trying not to use up too much time, I'm wondering if any of you had any time to actually read what I said about, the reason for my concerns. The bottom line is, and also I just want to thank you for, letting me be here and speak to this issue. Residents in Arlington need to be able to get timely responses when they're asking to get a permit for burning, or if they need to check to see if the smoke in their neighborhood is coming from a permitted fire, or to report illegal trash burning, and also to report non-permitted fires. Now, essentially, the question revolves around the change that happened. Jamie, is no longer our fire warden.
I am a deputy warden.
You're a deputy warden.
Yes. So ultimately what the state, they had a lot of problems,
Yeah.
with wardens that weren't associated with fire departments.
Okay.
That's what caused the whole change.
Yeah.
Because wardens that weren't associated with fire departments were giving out permits, then the fire departments were getting called and it put a lot of people out on the roads, so on, so forth. So one way of curbing that, and the state took this path, was to automatically designate the fire chiefs of a town as the warden. He, as the warden, can assign as many deputy wardens as he wants to actually do the position if he doesn't want to do it himself or doesn't have the time. So Brian has talked to myself. He's talked to Sandgate. I'm not sure what's going to go on up there yet. But he's got some paperwork to fill out, still goes through the board here and such like too. And then we'll still, myself and I believe Mike Wood are both going to be deputy wardens now under Brian, where I was the warden and they were both under me. Now we'll just both be under him. So as far as contacting us, nothing has changed. Other than I know when a call comes here for somebody, a lot of times it goes to the firehouse number, the 2323,
Yeah.
which is only an answering machine because we are not there. So every year when I do a report in here, I put our cell phone numbers.
Right.
And that's the numbers that people should, that's how I get all my calls. Everybody calls me on my cell number.
Sure.
I know you've got a couple lots being cleared down by your house right now.
Well,
And
others.
because there's another big house going in and so on and so forth, that's,
But there's other stuff that's been going on, Jamie.
but when I get a call, I go out and check it. If it's permitted burn, which that one has been up there right now currently. Brian had issued the permit, but I went up the other day because I got a call and I just checked on everything to make sure. They had one pile down they had a machine there, they had dirt all around it. They were burning one pile in the middle. So that is a totally legal fire. I understand what you're saying in your letter with the Canadian smoke and stuff like that. It does diminish the air quality in the whole region. We didn't get anything specifically saying not to issue permits. So-
State.
But I saw that.
Yeah.
But they will normally, if they do not want us issuing permits, they will send us a direct message saying no permit. That, we get a forecast every day that allows us to either hand out permits or they say no.
Right, today was an
So-
okay day, but
Yep.
yesterday wasn't.
So unless we are specifically told, or if our specific location is, if we see we didn't get all this rain in the last 2 weeks. It was really dry. So we weren't issuing many permits, very, very few. And especially anything that was really close to the woods, we weren't issuing anything. So we still go out, we look at the location, see where it is, so on and so forth. Karen, you had some burning up by your house there a couple weeks ago too.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, so they cut a bunch of trees, they cut it up, so, and burned it up, but, yeah, we're still out doing the same job.
Jamie, like, I did call your number.
My cell number?
Yes, well, I think it was yours and basically there was, the answering machine was full and you didn't pick up. So I then tried, because I knew about this change in the law, I tried several other means, including the 2323 number, but that's, as you say, just
Right.
an answering machine.
Right.
So I didn't leave a message there, but there is burning that's going on. And when I did my research on this, there's two issues. There's the issue actually with fires, and like we don't want a big forest fire here. Nobody wants that. The other part is this air quality issue, and the law, as I understand it, if air quality gets above 50, then no burning permits are supposed to be issued. And I assume if somebody has a standing permit, it has to stop.
Right,
They have
so,
to
and
stop.
that's where I say, when we get our weather statement and everything in the morning,
Yeah.
if they're calling for a really bad day, they will tell us no burning. If we don't get that notice in the morning, then because we don't have all the equipment to check that and monitor all that stuff.
I can provide you with that because I've spent the last like 4 days working on this issue.
But we don't have the local monitoring stuff. Everything here is regional, as I think you actually mentioned that in there. So it's regional.
Yeah.
Bennington Airport is actually the closest
I know.
legal
I know,
monitoring area.
I know.
So,
And then that comes to you from the state, right, Jamie?
comes
Because
to
I
us
mean,
from the
ultimately,
state.
they have to make the decision.
right, the state is the one that
But
gives us the final declaration.
There's a, if I'm reading the law correctly, when any burn creates public nuisance, there's an issue. And you've already addressed a particular neighbor of mine
Mhm.
who burns without permits on a regular basis and makes it so that I cannot work my garden.
Yep.
And, this is ongoing. It's not something.
I mean,
You've been.
I always respond to you if I get your phone call. I mean,
You know
I
exactly
didn't-
what I'm talking
yes.
about. And,
I try to make it on the best days for burning and so on and so forth.
Like 2 days ago, so
With-
coming up to the point that I could not go out in my garden. And, I have reactive airway disease. Now, while he was still alive, that's COPD. We had the
Yep.
same issues with the same,
Yep.
the topography of where that burning continues to go on a very regular basis. I don't know where the materials could be coming from. I don't know what's getting burned down there,
I
but
don't.
there's no trees on the property.
Yeah, and there have been no permits issued to that area, so
Well, I
other
know
than the
that.
one that's up on the road
No,
up
no,
above.
I'm sorry,
So,
what
Yep,
I'm talking about.
yeah.
So, when the air gets so bad at my house that I can't go outdoors, doesn't that constitute an air quality issue?
Does, so that's where we would come up and take a look and
Yep.
say, hey, you've got to put it out for the day, wait for a better day, whatever.
Yep.
And we've done that, you know
Right,
that.
I know that. Usually those fires are set either really early in the morning
Yep.
or after, I guess they come home in the evening. I've just bought 2 air quality monitors, although they're for indoors, they're portable. And I'm gonna start using them and I'll
Yep.
record the information for you because the money is no longer an issue. I am just, I ought to be able to go out and go.
I just had a quick question, clarification for Marty, for everyone. So the 3752323 number is not actually a number that we can expect to get immediate response. So,
Unless somebody happens to
They
be
have to
there
be
or
there.
stops in
Yeah, sure.
and gets
So
the
that-
message within
if there is an
a,
emergency,
But-
it's not a 911 emergency, but it's a breathing
it's
emergency.
call one of the
Call
3 cell
the
phone
cell-
numbers
the
that are
3 phone-
posted.
Yes. On the website.
I believe we are on the
Actually,
website, yes.
They're in the town report too,
Yeah,
right?
they're in the
Jamie? I mean,
town
your phone
report.
number's in the
They're
town
on the
report.
website.
They were in the town
Yeah.
report, page 43.
Yep.
Question, what, if someone continues to burn without a permit and we've issued multiple, like, we've gone and shut them down or whatever, is there any further recourse that,
It's a $15 ticket.
is that
Say
it?
again?
That's it.
And there's
It's
no,
a $15 ticket.
there's no
Yes,
escalation
That's
of,
it.
Well, the other thing
The
is
ticket
though, when we
actually
send
is
the
what I
fire
get for being
department,
a fire warden the whole year from the state.
so Sebastian, a good example is there was a non-permitted burn that the fire department ended up going to put out. And so that property owner gets billed by the fire department for that trip,
Sure.
which was significantly expensive, and that one is on a payment plan currently. But that is the expensive bill.
right,
Jamie-
but if
So
but
if
if
the
someone,
wardens are going out, there's
Yeah.
not unless
So-
the department is.
So there's
called
not a whole lot of incentive for somebody to go to stop. If they're like, well, I'm just gonna burn, and when they come yell at me, I'll put it out and pay my $15. And if they don't, then great, I got a free burn.
Cheaper than paying Casella, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know what's getting burned down there. I just, I can't get down there, but, you know, the topography is just that the way the wind blows, it comes straight up the valley, right up to our house. And it's constant. So. Sorry, Jamie. I'm so glad you stole one, because as I said in the comments that I wrote to all of you, you've been so responsive.
And we all try to be, and we try to look at the weather coming. I've got a gentleman on Old West Road that he's got a burn area and he's just clearing a little bit of his lot at a time and burning it. And I mean, there's days that I say, the winds are too high, you're not burning today.
Yeah.
You can't do it. And he's really respectful of it, so. Just,
Anyway, thank you. And
Yep.
you for your work.
Thank you for your input.
Thanks for the comments.
So-
Really,
give me a call. As long as I get that call, I will check things out. Like, I don't know, I was up there
you
on
want
Saturday.
Video, I mean, like, you can see something.
I was up there Saturday when they were up there working with the machine and stuff.
Yeah, but
I got a
that's
call.
not- that's
No, I
basically
know,
not-
but I'm just saying,
Thank you.
I got a call, so I went up and checked on it. So
Okay, thank you.
we try to be as responsive as we can.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Okay,
Just another side note for the fire department. So year to date, we've on our billed collections of $16,491, we have 100% collection rate with our outsourcer. And we currently have 3 active claims that are in review. 2 of them are with the insurance company, and 1 is with self-insured that's on a payment plan for that and currently on track to pay that total amount. So we're making very good progress, both with the fire department reporting runs that are billable to our third-party billing company, and they are doing an outstanding job at collecting money for us to replace our consumables, and then our additional income from that going towards the truck sinking fund.
Excellent.
that's fantastic.
I ask one more question. The $15, does the town of Arlington set that fee, or is that the state? So we have to talk to the legislature.
State is the only one that sets that.
Well, you know, I
So,
mean,
yep.
the whole essence of this is that we're dealing with a changing environment.
Yeah.
The kind of air quality issue that happened in the middle of July isn't gonna be the
Yep.
only time that happens.
Yep.
And, you know, there's gotta be some team in this sort of thing.
Yeah, the wardens have talked about it for years and years and years, and so far, and absolutely. This change right here was the first major change they've had in like 100 years. So,
Thank you.
Yep.
Take that for all your legislature.
I think we're good, Dan.
Okay. Item 14, award and sign a contract for town hall attic insulation.
Oh,
Did we
sorry.
have anything for the rec park?
We do have.
Rec park
the rec
first.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rec Park.
Yes, so you guys are gonna love this. Both mowers broke down last week, but that worked out because it was really rainy. So Cooper repaired the riding mower. It was only down for like 2 or 3 days while the belt came in. So the riding mower is back up and running. However, the greens mower, that we just got last year from Grasslands, we think that the transmission has failed. There's definitely a belt that's broken on it. And Cooper reached out to a sales rep with Grasslands to see if he could just get the belt in and repair it. But I don't know anything about this kind of equipment, but greens mowers are a little bit more complicated than riding mowers. They have a lot
Very
more.
much so.
Yeah, they have a lot more components. So we did get the belt. The guy thankfully didn't charge us for it, but it did not fit the model we have or anything. I don't know. I think like somebody with the golf association knew this guy, and it was kind of done like off the books, but the belt did not work. So Grasslands picked up the mower last Friday. and they've taken it to Albany, where they're gonna diagnose it and tell us what's wrong with it, and we'll know what happened, and get it repaired. And that's the kind of, and when you have like specialized equipment like this, like, we're not gonna know how to like work on it.
Of course.
So I'll keep you guys updated, but really it's been so rainy that he couldn't have mowed there anyway.
Yeah.
And, Jeff Jocelyn is gonna be starting the MERP work at Town Garage, Town Hall, and then the side project at the rec park. He said like the second week of August, so I'm hoping like next week. So Cooper did some painting of the building and the garage, getting that looking all nice for his new windows and doors. So that's the update from the rec park.
Did we get
Okay.
tires for the John Deere with a bucket on it?
Yes, yep. Ralph Sheldon is bringing them and putting them on. We were,
They're on.
oh, they're on. Oh, okay.
They're on.
Perfect.
Super.
He
I
just
just- I
put
was
them
just
back on the
double-checking.
tractor, so Cooper was doing that.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay. So that's done. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just on a side note, the park looks really good. I think Cooper's been doing an excellent job in getting onboarded and working through these challenges.
Yeah.
Equipment down. You know, I stopped and talked to him before I headed out of town, and he was a little frustrated about things breaking, but
Yeah.
you know, has done a good job finding alternative things, and his workshop looks to be in tip-top shape.
It looks really good.
Very
Yeah.
well organized. So I was really pleased to see that when I stopped in, and I think he's doing a really good job getting onboarded, and really taking pride in the park, which is just phenomenal. So
Yeah.
thank you to Cooper for his hard work.
Yes.
Last weekend, Woodard's was in and they rolled the softball field after the carnival, so that's all been smoothed back out as well, so.
Cool.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, now we're on to 14.
Yeah.
Warden signed a contract for town hall attic installation.
Yes. So now that we have ServPro lined up to take place sometime in August, we can schedule work with Vermont Comfort to do the installation in the attic. And I included the original bid proposal along with their contract in the minutes from, geez, that meeting that was back in June sometime. The board indicated that they liked option 2, which did I include the scope of work? I really hope I did. I think I did.
Agreement price, 27,460,
Yeah.
50% down,
And yeah.
all provisions.
So option 2 is, I think, one, you guys didn't like the spray foam, and the other one was the R value was much higher than we needed it. So we kind of settled on option 2. But now that we tabled it because we had to get the ServPro stuff scheduled, which they've told me that we're going to do it in August. I don't know when in August, but they've said they're going to do it. And there should be plenty of time because this work won't take place until October. So I just need you guys to look over the options again. The middle of the road option looked to be like we get the most for our money in that one. So that's what the contract reflects.
And where does this all fall with our grant funding money?
Yes.
Are we in
So
line with that?
yes, our total MERP was 115,000, including windows at town hall, windows and doors at the garage, insulation, and all of our stuff with Centerline Architect. That's going to put us right at $80,000. So this insulation work is well within, what we need to do. And we'll talk about the HVAC RFP in a minute, but
So, let me ask, because I do remember like we talked about going with option 2, but isn't ServPro removing all of our insulation up there?
yes.
They are.
So that's the bullet point number 1, right? In this bid for option 2 is remove and dispose of all accessible insulation and rodent droppings.
Yeah.
All 3 of these have remove insulation, but we're having that done by others. So I think this needs to be revised.
Okay. I mean, they also said they wanted the attic completely clear, including rodent droppings. So that's why we scheduled Surf Pro in the first place.
Right,
So,
but they had it
Right.
there
haven't
as part
included
of
in
their
there. Yeah.
price.
okay,
Yeah.
Removing it.
I can reach out to them about that, but they were pretty adamant that they wanted, the place
Yeah,
clear.
it just doesn't.
Yeah.
It
Why
looks
not?
like they're doing it though in this price, as they've quoted it in this price, because option 2, it's clearly says remove and dispose of all accessible insulation with an insulation vacuum system. Right? Frame down access on all 3 of these options. They have that as their very first bullet point. So I'm assuming that that's included in the price. So if they rework this, the price should come down
That would
Yeah.
be-
by taking that out.
Okay, I'll get with them. They were particularly concerned about like the mold and like the rodent stuff. So maybe it's something that like they usually do, but because of the conditions of the attic, they were like, we need someone else to come in and do it. But I'll email them, and because they refused to do the work until Surf Pro came out and cleaned out the attic. So
Okay,
I'll
so
I
then
appreciate that, but it looks like they did that work.
yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
Yeah, it's all well and good, but we're not
Sure.
gonna pay for the same service twice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that should be like, what do you think that was? Like 15% of the quote, probably?
I don't,
Probably.
yeah. In the
Should be a good chunk, because that's.
So it should be like
that's- that's-
$4,100 off.
Yeah.
At least.
Well, I will connect with them about, that language that's in there. But yeah, they were like, we're not going back up there until it's cleared out. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, don't let them tell you that like, oh, it's still 27,460. We're just going to take that line item off.
Yeah,
sure.
Because they
Okay.
clearly bid that in this line, because it's clearly in the bid. So there should be some
In all
adjustment
3.
to the price.
And I think in all 3, it does say the attic has to be clear of all
It does.
debris. Yeah.
It does.
yeah, but it doesn't specify the installation of the drop-in. So, but if they then looked at it and said there's other extenuating factors, we're
Yeah.
not comfortable doing this, have somebody else do it, well, we'll have them do the whole thing then. And.
Yeah.
And take it off their quote.
Yeah.
Which is what we did, and that's why we have Surf Pro doing all of that work.
Yeah. Okay. So that will be brought to you guys on the 17th. And okay, so that's, I guess we're on to 15. Yeah.
Okay, so we're all set for that?
Yeah, I'll bring it to you guys on the 17th. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So we're up to your update, Katie.
Yes.
Just anything that you haven't covered already.
Yep. So our emergency management line item in our budget is set at $3,000. We used that money for the generator inspection and maintenance at the school because we have to use the school as our emergency building. So we have to
Correct.
cover the generator costs.
Yeah.
But Nick let me know that part of the hazard mitigation plan that the town adopted requires that the town also have communication signs for hazards. And it's actually on page 89 and 94 in the hazard mitigation plan. I went to it to make sure like what exactly the plan requires. And he's right, we do need signage to communicate hazards in an event there is an emergency, as well as hazards along the river. So I'm requesting to extend the emergency management line item by $822.75 to purchase these things.
Can I just ask a question? It's
Yeah.
about the generator, and have we always paid the maintenance on that generator?
Yes. And because, yeah.
Hold on, let me finish. Does the school benefit from that generator at times when we're not under using it as part of the emergency management plan?
I'm sure if their power goes out, yes.
So are we renting back part of the generator to the school to use or splitting the maintenance? Because clearly they benefit from having the generator there that we have installed because that is the emergency shelter. But, in the last number of years, we've probably activated that emergency shelter twice, but I'm sure the power's gone out much more often than that.
I'm pretty sure under Vermont state statute, we are responsible for maintaining that generator though, because it is our emergency building and it's not a town-owned building. If it was a town-owned building, we wouldn't have to worry about it. But I
I'm
think
fine with that. But it may be something to consider that we rent the generator then back to the school for their use in times that the power goes out, but we don't activate the emergency shelter so that we could recoup some of that money.
Honestly, I'm trying to think back of the last time the power actually went out while there were kids there was when the tree came down on the pole, snapped the pole at the top of the hill. That's been probably 5, 7 years ago. It's been a long time. I mean, daytime outages when school's in session are very, very rare up there.
What is that? Does that power the
The entire high school,
the whole building, right? So
the
their
entire building.
fire alarm continues to have power, their walk-in
Yep, everything.
coolers and freezers, the HVAC. It seems like there's a benefit to the school to having that generator there. So it should be something that we consider in the future that, you know, we write a contract and rent back a portion of that generator because the school clearly benefits from it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just my opinion. Because it's, you know,
I know
mean,
we
it's a
pay
big
for
chunk
the
of money
fuel.
to pay to maintain it.
We pay for the diesel fuel, to run it. It runs weekly on a Saturday morning, I believe, Sunday morning, Saturday morning.
Yep.
One or the other. It runs for an hour every week.
Yeah. I mean, there's carrying costs on it, right? There's diesel, there's repair, there's all of that, right? Transfer switch.
Inspections and maintenance, yeah.
Yep.
Something to consider maybe for another meeting, but definitely I wouldn't put it on a list to check out for sure.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the line item over budget expenditure for the emergency management line item. I don't think I have the number written down correctly.
822.75.
822.75 in the amount of.
Sebastian will second.
Motion made by Matt and seconded by Sebastian to approve the budget overrun on line item 11-7-7Z-610.00. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
All right, also included in your packet is a letter from the state regarding the Bennington County Solid Waste Alliance and our solid waste improvement plan. So we did this plan with Scott Grimm-Lyon. It looks like back in the spring. And Scott submitted it to the state like he did with every other town in Bennington County. However, we got a letter stating that we were in violation. I reached out to Scott. I talked to him on the phone. He said that he had resubmitted it to the state on behalf of all towns, and he was going to let me know if we each have to do it individually. I haven't heard from him since last week, so I'm just holding on to it for now. But I wanted to let you guys know, as you guys are listed, you know, it says select board. I didn't want to just not tell you guys, but
I mean, there was a whole bunch of them, right? Manchester, Dorset.
Yes,
It
everybody
sounded to
in
me
the-
like something
Yeah.
didn't-
County.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sounded like the state missed something or didn't
Well,
register
Scott's
when, because it goes through.
Yeah. But I called other towns to check in and they didn't seem worried about it. But Scott said he resubmitted it on behalf of all of us, but he said he would let me know if the state requires us to submit it individually, which I'll figure out like where the final document of it is, because I only have a draft of it in the share drive. So
I don't think we've ever submitted it individually, have we?
I don't know. Scott said that he submitted a draft to them by mistake. So he's hoping that like just resubmitting it for everyone again works. But he'll let me know. But because you all were named, I wanted to make sure we're clear about it.
I wasn't losing
Lastly,
sleep over it.
yeah. The heat pump system and website RFPs closed on Friday. We have about 42 submissions for the website. I really have to go through them and kind of call a few of them.
Narrow that down to the top 3.
Yeah. So that'll take some time to get through, but we had 2 heat pump bids. that were submitted, one from Premier Heating and AC, and the other one is from Bennington Heating and Cooling. And previously, I told you guys that all of the work that like we're contracted with so far is going to put us just under $80,000 left. And as you can see, both of these bids exceed that. And I don't know if it's because when the assessment was done by the state or the energy audits were done by the state that that the costs have like significantly increased in the last 2 years, or I'm not sure why there's a discrepancy between what the state says we should pay for a heat pump system and what the 2 bids we got say. So so we don't have to, make a decision on that. I just want to let you know what we'd received by the deadline. And of course, if the board wants to move forward with this work, we wouldn't do it until after the installation work is done anyway. So just to let you guys know what we're looking at. And again, Matt, I don't think we ever got anything like an ROI from the Energy Committee on this work anyway. So,
and I think we asked for that. But, one of the things that I will note is, just cost increases across the board in materials and labor for these types of systems. I mean, we're seeing unprecedented price increases. I've experienced that just in the last week alone on a project that I'm working on. So, for business. So it didn't surprise me where they came in. I think the discrepancy between those two wasn't that far out based on types of equipment being used. So, but yeah, I've seen huge price increases across the board in this type of equipment.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we didn't get more because there are several local companies doing these now.
Yeah. I mean, and it was in the newspaper. We had it online.
A couple just over the border that are doing a ton of them right through here.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
I know we've had a number of people come and do like ask for estimates just to do some in our house over the last few years. Nobody ever follows up. They come, they look at it. I don't know what it is.
I mean, of the two, the one respondent from Bennington, we know that they've been in business for a really long time, right? And respond and have been there. So they have a proven track record. I haven't done my research on the other respondent that's out of were they out of Arlington or Walmart?
They're out of Barry.
Barry. Yeah, I don't know
2.5 hours
much
away
about them at all.
The one that's farthest away is always the cheapest.
That's actually the expensive one.
And they never come to fix anything either.
And well, that might be factored in it, right? They've responded to it, but if they're in Barry, there's significant travel time costs, which are labor costs, right? And mileage.
Yep. And they have a big incentive not to call back, fix callbacks.
Right. So
it's the mileage and tripping.
I mean, there is one thing if the energy committee could be engaged to provide us what the ROI is, because in addition to this cost, we have the electrical work that needs to be done to change the amperage of the service, upgrade the panels. We've got a rough estimate from Randy, I think, the town electrician on that. So, take that rough estimate cost combined with one of these bid costs and tell me what my ROI is to put these in and use them in lieu of our existing heating plant.
Yeah.
All right. So then D is the town hall installation closure?
Yes.
Serve Pro?
Yes. So, oh no, sorry.
Nope,
This is installation.
Oh, that's the installation. I'm sorry.
They let me know that the work's going to take place from like a Monday to a Thursday. Monday, it's, business as usual. There's going to be bringing stuff in, prepping the site, but when they start actually installing the installation, no one can be in the building through the installation and then 24 hours after work completes. So October 22nd.
19th through the
Sorry,
22nd.
October 19th through the 22nd is when the work's going to take place, but the building has to be closed the 20th, 21st, and most of the 22nd. I consulted with VLCT on any like legal issues with the town hall not being accessible leading up to an election. They said there's no state statute, a few weeks before, if work needs to take place, but they suggested I reach out to the Secretary of State just to make sure everything's clear. I've sent them emails. I've left them voicemails. I have not heard back. So I don't have like blessing from the Secretary of State, but there is no statute saying that we couldn't close. And that still leaves several weeks before, the November 3rd election. So it's not like we're going to be closed, the week before or the week of. But I just want to like run that by you.
Staff could still work on a limited basis, right? Remotely responding to emails and such.
Yes, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's essentially what it sounds like the town did during COVID. They're already kind of set up to do that work anyway. And being open on Monday helps Christian and Janet do, I don't think is it a payroll week? Yeah, so they'll do payroll on Monday like normal. They'll be able to do any AP stuff, and then everyone will just work from home the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
they
don't
can
see
check
a reason why
voicemail,
they
right,
can't.
and respond to emails that may not be
Yes.
full service, but
Yeah.
there's also the Dropbox in the front of the building
Yes.
there for people that have to drop things off, and we'll look at that as a, timely basis.
Yes.
Maybe payroll was the following week, and that's why this was this week, because it,
Yeah, because it wasn't.
because she has to be in the office to.
Yeah. And if you all, give your blessing on this closure, I'll make sure that we, we communicate it to all of the other boards and commissions that might have meetings that week. And anyone else that might like need access to the building, but we'll communicate it widely.
I'm
Okay.
good with it. I think I'm.
Yeah, I have no objection.
Great. And that was all I had, I think, for my, yeah.
Looks like warrants and orders are in order.
Yep. All right. How do I do this?
Starting with water department. I can do it.
Sorry, it's the water for everyone. Yeah. I got it.
Got it there?
Check warrant report WD 16 in the amount of $2,715.06.
2,700 what?
15.
15.
06.
06.
06, okay.
I'll second.
Yep.
So you made the motion, Jeff
Yes.
Sebastian?
Yes,
And
made the
Matt
motion.
seconded for a total on check warrant report WD 16 of $2,715.06. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Right.
Aye.
There you go. And motion to approve check warrant report 16. This is for the general fund, right?
Yep.
This is only water, yep. In the amount of $43,043.67. And we need to call out significant items on here. Says significant items are power washing services, innovative municipal products. I don't know what that one is.
Yeah, our calcium chloride for
Oh,
the
yeah.
Yeah.
What's that for? The calcium chloride? That's for the
calcium
roads.
chloride they put on the roads.
Got it. Culverts, health insurance. As
It's
usual.
always the health insurance.
That's always a big
health
one.
insurance. Yep. Sand, stone. Yeah.
I'll
Pretty
second.
routine stuff.
Yep. Pretty routine stuff.
So check warrant report number 16, motion was made to approve by Sebastian and seconded by Matt in the total amount of $43,043.67. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there
Uh,
any,
Nope, we got one more, right? Motion
oh
to
yeah,
approve.
that's just for the burden on the payroll?
Oh, okay, so
Yeah, that
So we
doesn't,
just
I think
sign
that
that
just
one.
needs a
just sign it.
signature.
All right,
Yeah, that's not needed, motion is not needed on that.
all righty.
All right, is there an executive session, to be done?
I don't have anything that can't wait this
I
week.
don't either.
No.
So.
No.
All right, so is there any other business to be brought before the board?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Jamie and seconded by Sebastian?
Yeah.
All those
No.
in, oh,
That was not involved.
by Matt. Sorry, Matt.
You're all right.
We're adjourned. Thanks everyone for your time and thank you,
Thank you.
Jeanette.
Thank you.
Katie,
Thank you all.
Katie, will you just scan and send anything to me that you need me to sign? And